Shalom, all praises goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Akakwadash. Double honors goes into the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And then much love and peace and blessings goes out to all the hopeful elect brothers that are teaching the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. So this video will be a prophecy update. I'm going to go into a few articles as it pursues to the prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Most of these articles are dealing with Esau's draconian measures, the draconian and authoritarian laws that he's pushing, especially right now in the UK, which I'm not going to really detail it right now because we'll get to the article. But hey, it's complete oppression being funneled out through this Edomite system, man. Starting with the governors and politicians, these governments, man. Australia is completely locked down and fucked up by their government, man. And it's only going to get worse because it's going to be the point where you're going to have dozens of troops in your neighborhood with MRAPs and tanks enforcing curfews, and which is pretty much martial law. It's going to get worse. As it pursues to the prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But, we watch and see what's going on to right now. And the scriptures give us insight as to what's happening as well as what's going to happen. And also a few articles that's dealing with World War III. All right, because that's the last war that's brewing. All right, you have World War I, World War II, and World War III. World War III is brewing right now as we speak, in which America and its allies is going to go against Russia and its allies. All right, so let's just start with this article. It says Trump's anti-war rhetoric is smoke and mirrors. And why is that? Because the United States has no intention on withdrawing out of the Middle East. You see what I'm saying? Or having some level of preventing wars. America is not anti-war. America is pro-war. And they want to start the Third World War. They want to go, America has just issued arms deal with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, man. Why? Because it's arming the enemies of Iran. All right, so that anti-war rhetoric is bullshit. It says if Trump's words about his dislike for war and U.S. troops fighting forever wars matched his actions, there would be no American soldiers in the Middle East and Afghanistan. And that lets you know Esau, he's a hypocrite, man. And the scriptures talk about the congregation of hypocrites being desolate because the Most High doesn't deal with hypocrites. A hypocrite is basically an actor, a liar, a pretender, That's Esau Edom. It says, nor would he be selling weapons to the region. Nor would he still be selling weapons to the region. Nearly 2 years ago, I asked Russian President Vladimir Putin at his annual press conference whether he thought that American troops would really withdraw from the Middle East, a promise on which Donald Trump had campaigned, winning the support of those U.S. non-neoconservatives who are against pointless wars. At the time Trump had spoken of withdrawing troops from Syria, the United States have been present in, say, Afghanistan for how long? 17 years. And every year they talk about withdrawing troops, but they are still there, replied Putin. Putin, or however you want to say this guy's name. One might say that the Russian president was onto something. So you see, America has the history of involvement in all these different nations because according to the prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Esau is a man that keepeth not at home. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't understand staying within these boundaries and ruling his own people. He goes about across these nations and tries to oppress other people. This is Habakkuk 2:5. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And that's the point. He neither keeps at home. He doesn't stay within his land and his boundaries, handing out laws and governing America. It's a world government Esau's pushing. I'm going to finish this precept. And cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. That's why America is in all nations, because that's the characteristics outlined of him in the scriptures. So everything links up. The scriptures are without a doubt true. It says, one might say that the Salaki, nearly 2 years later, as Trump faces re-election and a need to show that he has fulfilled a key promise from his last campaign, here we go again with yet another troop withdrawal announcement, and this time from Iraq and Afghanistan. It says, I'll skip down a bit. It says, today there are 25,650 total Pentagon contractors in Afghanistan. And what is that? Those are the militia troops. Those are not militias, but mercenaries that are hired by the Pentagon to destabilize the area, to attack certain resources and sabotage and kill armies of these different nations in the Middle East. You know, just like in Syria. America has a heavy presence on the eastern portion of Syria. It says, according to the latest report published by United States Central Command in July 2020, and while they're not necessarily over there fighting, although who's to say that at least some of them can't go kinetic, they're at the very least occupying these countries while performing work-related logistics, maintenance, base support, and armed security. Hey, so there you have it, man. Esau, because look, this is the reason why America is intent on keeping a presence in the Middle East, because it's protecting its foreign assets, man. You know. So let's go on. This is a key article. This is from Business Insider, an article from Peter Schiff that he did in July 20th, 2010. And as you know, Peter Schiff is like a well-known economist, and you know, he's an insider. He knows things that's going on. He understands politics and you know, movements of money, you know, how the money is moving, I should say, and different things of that nature. But even going back 10 years ago, there's predictions of a World War III. And the reason being is because America is broke. All these different nations have no money. America is a system that's dependent on war for, you know, for it to get in abundance, for it to survive. It's dependent on war so we can keep its economy intact. It says, let's start a third world war to save the global economy. There's an overwhelming agreement among economists that the Second World War was responsible for decisively ending the Great Depression. When asked why the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are failing to make the same impact today, they often claim that the current conflicts are simply too small to be economically significant. There is, of course, much more irony there. No one argues that World War II, with its genocide, tens of millions of combatant casualties, and wholesale destruction of cities and regions, was good for humanity. But the improved American economy of the late 40s seemed to illustrate the benefits of large-scale government stimulus. This conundrum may be causing some to wonder how we could capture the good without the bad. And this is from an article 10 years ago, and they're speaking of government stimulus and what's happening in 2020 and what has happened in 2020 as a consequence of the coronavirus was what? Stimulus packages, right? And stimulus is just another way of saying some type of stimulating effect. The stimulus package was used here in America because of the coronavirus to stimulate the economy so people could have money to pay rent and still go about their daily business because things was on lockdown. And the stimulus back then was all this war being had. The economy shifted. It was stimulated by that war. You see, it says this, Salaki, if one believes that government spending can create economic growth, then the answer should be simple. Let's have a huge pretend war that rivals the Second World War in size. However, this time let's not kill anyone. That's completely false, because according to the scriptures, there's going to be a multitudes of people getting put to death. All right. And this is Esau's intent, because it says here in Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 8, therefore wait ye upon me, said the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is gathering these armies for his purpose, even though Esau in his mind as being a man has his own intentions, but Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is going to gather them to destroy them, and it is going to be a bloody fight. All right. So it says here, it says Iran's Khamenei says the UAE betrayed the Muslim world with Israel deal. The United Arab Emirates betrayed the Islamic world and Palestinians by reaching a deal towards normalizing ties with Israel. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said in a speech. And if you know, that's pretty much the shift in the power of the Middle East. You have the main conglomerates, if you will, would be Iran and its allies, and the state of Israel and its allies. And at one point in time, all the different Arab nations that had surrounded Israel when it was first established in 1948, they all were against Israel. But you know, by process of time, a lot of these nations got bought out. The latest one is the United Arab Emirates. And before that, the most prominent Arab ally that the United States and Israel had was, the Saudis, right? So you have basically Esau making deals with these Arab nations to boost that military backing of Israel. And, you know, and what is this happening for? In preparation of this Third World War, you know? A lot of the different moves and shifts that's happening, even when you boil it down to the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, that happened so America can have its bases and its influence in place to eventually fight with Iran, because Afghanistan and Iraq both border Iran. It says the Palestinians have fiercely opposed the normalization as weakening traditional Arab refusal to form ties with Israel before the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. That past Arab support was one of the Palestinians' few advantages in a moribund peace talks with Israel. Palestinians have held public protests and burned the United Arab Emirates flag in anger. Hey, so this move, this pissed off the Palestinians, because the Palestinians, they were inhabiting, which are, you know, Arabs, they inhabited Israel, that land before them so-called Jews got out there. And they've been at bloodshed with one another since then. You know, you got the so-called Jews locking up and killing and beating up them Palestinians, and the Palestinians, you know, fucking hitting them with car bombs and strap bombs to themselves to kill soldiers. So it's been a history of conflict. But the scriptures say when the real children of Israel get into the land, that there would be peace. Okay, and that the law will go forth from Jerusalem. I tell you that in Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2, it says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and nations shall flow unto it." And what does that represent? The mountains and hills represent governments, meaning Israel will be the top government of the world. And this goes against prophecy, because who's the top government today? The United States. You see what I'm saying? Israel today, that state of Israel, is the United States' weak little brother, parabolically. It says that many people shall go up and say, "Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of God and of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." You see? It says, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prune hooks," meaning that there will be no war. "Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." But you see what they're doing now. They're making deals to incite war. War is being incited. War isn't being, quenched. So let's go to this last article I'm going to get before I go into a couple other scriptures. It says, "The UK's government new COVID rules are authoritarian and arbitrary. How much longer will people put up with this?" The latest crazy edict from Boris Johnson's government is that only 6 people can meet up in private homes. There is no logic to this whatsoever, and it perfectly sums up their shambolic handling of the entire coronavirus crisis. From September 14th, it will be illegal for more than 6 people to gather in a variety of places, including private homes in England. This ban also extends to restaurants, cafes, bars, pubs, and even outdoor spaces, and applies across the board to all ages. However, the rule won't apply in an array of other scenarios for no apparent reason than Matt Hancock says so. The health secretary, who also seems to have appointed himself commissioner of the Fun Police, explained to the adoring inmates of Airstrip 1 that one of the pieces of feedback. No, hold on. But I mean, based on what I'm reading, these are, authoritarian, wicked laws, man. You can't have more than 6 people in your own house. And this is a disease that, according to statistics of the CDC, only 6% of the people they say died actually had this disease, man. Actually died from this disease. Other people had cancer. They were having heart attacks, strokes, getting hit by cars, and they died. And if they were found with COVID in their system, then that's a COVID death. A lot of the positives are false positives. And there's another article I read that the coronavirus was around the world before they reported on it, which that would explain the high amount of cases. But yet people weren't dying like that because this disease is no deadlier than the flu, and it's probably less deadly. So let's go to a few scriptures, man. Let's go to Revelation 13 and 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." And what does that first and second beast represent? The first beast is the Roman Empire, but the second beast, which came after that, is the rebirth of Esau, Edom. And now today, especially 2020, Esau is showing you why he is a lamb, but he speaks as a dragon. Because into his appearance, what does he do? He wears suits. He speaks softly when he's talking to you. But what? He's oppressing your life. He's ruining your fucking life. Not even letting you have more than 6 people in your home. And the average household doesn't even have 6 people. But you look at like them Filipinos and Japheth, they got all, grandma, uncle, nephew, all living with them. So what the fuck they supposed to do? They fucked up right now, man. But this is this devil. He's being exposed. The Most High is showing you who this devil is. So this is Blue Letter. No, I'm Salaki. This is Psalm. Of course, it's blueletterbible.com. But it says, Psalm 94:20, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? And that's exactly what Esau Edom does. He produces mischief with these different laws and ordinances that he gives to the people. Just like this lockdown, right? That was a law. That was a mandate. Because if you look up law, the word is chak, and it's an enactment, an appointment, appointed bound commandment, a decree. Okay, it's a decree. And what has he decreed? For cities to be locked down, and you got to wear a goddamn mask everywhere you go. This is Esau Edom. So this is the last precept I'm going to get. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9. It says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. All right, and who is that? Who is that he? That's Esau. Because he is basically a demon. He comes in the spirit and power of Satan. Right? Because let's go down. Let's go back up to verse 8. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So Esau, he's being consumed right now. He's being consumed by the spirit of the Lord. And the spirit of the Lord has basically spurred him to show his horns, to show what he's about. He's about oppression and wickedness and torment and death. That's what Esau has pushed. And then you go back to the coronavirus. This shit was issued by these Edomites anyway. Top Illuminati, if you want to call them. The deep state. They the ones that push this shit out there for the people, man. All right. So, Lord's will, this was edifying for you brothers and sisters that do watch. All praise goes to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakodash.